I'm very, very excited with our panel this evening. These are the coffee maestros, these are the baristas, these are people that enjoy coffee. And some of you are here because you love coffee. Some of you are here because you have a business idea and you're thinking, well, I'm not really in the coffee industry. However, business principles are business principles. Whether you are having a cleaning company, whether you are having a coffee industry business, or whether you're running a big bag, business principles are business principles. So thank you very, very much for coming through this evening. And I'm going to introduce my panelists this evening. And on my left, I have Sebastian Schneider. He's the founder of Motherland. Who has seen that brand? Who has consumed their coffee? Wonderful, great. So he is the guy, this is the guy that has founded Motherland. And then on my right, I have Sihle from Sihle's Brew. Who knows about Sihle's Brew? Wonderful, 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 great. You can put your hand up. Great, and then also on my right, I have Dane Levenrad, and he's from the Grind Coffee Company. Have you heard of a coffee in a code? Who knows of the Grind Coffee Company? Yes, 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 brilliant. So these are the South African coffee baristas. These are the people that saw the opportunity of starting their businesses, and these are people that have very interesting stories. How did you come to be a barista? Somebody that's interested in coffee. Well, tell us about that journey.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I spent many years in sort of the design and advertising world, and I think coffee is something it's a part of everyone's life already, whether you're in the business or not. You drink coffee, you go to cafes, whether it's instant coffee or you're a coffee connoisseur. It's a part of your life. It's something that's ingrained in your routine, and that's what it was for us. And the passion grew from there. We started firstly, it's not just myself who founded Motherland. It's a shared thing. It's myself and two other partners. But it came from a shared passion and a love for coffee, and particularly for some of the flavor notes, and for African coffee. We just really fell in love with it. And at the time, it wasn't huge. There was not a lot of popular African coffee brands out there. Even African coffee was a lot of South Americans that were very popular. The African coffees weren't popular. It's changed, it's really switched on now, but that's where our passion started. I mean, we are a coffee company born and raised in Africa, and hopefully one day we could be brewed the world over. And we also only serve and sell African origin coffees, with a focus on fair trade coffees and a view to more direct line of relationship with farmers and producers. So that's a key to our business, and the name Motherland completely fits, right? It also just feels really warm and welcome. Motherland, you go to Motherland, you walk into the Motherland.
My mother was a single parent, so she passed on, so I had to take over looking after my siblings. Eventually, I had to juggle work between working as a gardener, as a pizza maker, and also eventually I've then matriculated. Then I was offered an opportunity by Roberto Monterrey, where he was working at Cyro Alliances, where I've grabbed the opportunity by both hands, and I've learned how to make coffee. From there, I've been working as a barista. Eventually, in 2012, I said to myself, no, this thing, obviously the passion grew up. From there, then eventually I've started my coffee company called Sihle's Brew. And I was very grateful recently to be going, I was offered by our government to go to America to explore, to sell our product out there. So not only limiting myself here in South Africa.
Dane, you also at 16 had something very interesting happening in your life, and I'm happy, well, I mean, at least you gave me permission to mention that, you are a high school dropout. A lot of entrepreneurs that you've read about, a lot of entrepreneurs that, you've revered and seen their journeys are people that dropped out of school. And you've had a very colorful, journey, to where you are right now. So tell us a little bit about that, from, being a high school dropout, the experiences that you had in Australia and South America. Tell us about the journey, and tell us about how you came about with your brand.
Cool. So, I mean, I left school, as you know, when I was 16, but I think School. I left school for a couple of reasons. It was obviously circumstantial, a lot of it. I mean, I went straight into the workforce, learned how to, wait on tables, the gift of the cab, I suppose. And, my mom's always been in food, and so we've always been subjected to that kind of industry. I worked my way up to management in Premi, and then decided that I would, travel around the world, as one does when they're young. And I've been very fortunate to, travel to America and Brazil and Europe and, Asia. And I lived in Australia for 4 years, and that's where I really picked up the love for coffee. 4 years down the line, I'm now back in South Africa, and my love for coffee has just obviously grown tenfold after being in one of the best coffee industries in the world, which Australia is. And I opened The Grind in 2015, December 2015 in Melrose Arch. And then we had a unique, product which we launched through The Grind, and unbeknown to me and my team, we had some really huge international success in a very short space of time. And Coffee in a Cone, I think now has been featured. Our reach is about 50 million people worldwide. We were featured on CNN and the likes. So, we had a very unique situation that we had to deal with. Had no idea how. And the process through the last year has been an incredible journey and an incredible learning curve.
So we're a little bit older, we're in our 8th year now. And, back then there was a pretty big gap. I think there were, the Seattle and Vida were the big names in coffee. And then you had restaurant cafes, which were, your Nino's, Fagos, Tasha's, that kind of thing. So we saw a gap in terms of being a commercial coffee company. Obviously we are commercial, we're in retail, but with a sort of an independent coffee house feel. Because they're big names now. Starbucks is here. Guys are going to start coming in. Even the donut guys, they're really a coffee player. They sell you donuts, but it's a coffee player. It's all about the coffee for them too. So there are a lot of guys getting into coffee. But the gap in coffee is there because coffee is such an experiential thing. It's one of those industries that like to find places that are interesting, that are new, that are different, that have their own sort of feel to them.
The absolute drive to perfect something. And you can never, as Sebastian said, coffee is such an experiential product. One coffee from the next within a short space of time can make or break that person's day. And I keep telling my baristas, and it's a good point to take, you have the power in one coffee to make that person's day either the best day they've had or the worst day that they've had. And case in point, give someone a burnt latte or burnt cappuccino, you will know the wrath of that person within a very short space of time. And it does set them up for the rest of the day to be really, really not have a good day. So try and start them off on a positive note by giving them a consistently good coffee and a consistently good product. Obviously, there's a lot of other things that play into the mix, as how you conduct yourself within your store, how your staff conduct themselves. Sebastian spoke about creating a culture. The culture in a coffee shop is really important because you're feeding the same person every single day. And if you don't give them a good experience, or they don't have a good experience, there's a lot of competition within a very closed-off sector that they can go to the next day.
You took that leap of faith, you decided to do things differently. It's a painful journey, there's a lot of rejection, there's a lot of uphill. People don't want to talk to you sometimes, you are begging and groveling half the time. So if there were some few words you'd want to leave with, our prospective entrepreneurs, current entrepreneurs, what are those pearls of wisdoms? What would you, 3 things that you'd say to our audience to do?
I think one word for me is perseverance. And if you can, share the load. We did for a number of years. As Dane said, he doesn't know what sleep is. For a lot of people, I think it's just, there's so much on you in those early days. If you have someone to share it with, let someone take the lead for a time, then you take the lead. That can see you through those early years, and that's definitely what's been in it for us as well.
T-shirt?
For me, it's just every person, that if you're starting a company, you must be perseverant, you must be true to yourself, produce a quality product that will actually sell, and conduct yourself in a good manner in terms of different variants of media platform and other people, just the normal people that want to learn from you. You must be able to give back and coach that person. If you coach one entrepreneur, then that entrepreneur might have a greater people or more people that will employ. Besides, give the knowledge, impart the knowledge to other people, so this country can be a better country.
Okay. 3 things. So I think having an outlet is really important. Whether that's screaming in a very dark room in the fetal position. Sebastian, take notes. No, an outlet like sports or some type of physical activity. I'll leave that up to everyone's imagination. Routine is really important. Have a specific routine that you do every single day. I'm terrible at it. I'm working hard, trying, but routine is really important. So, have an outlet to, if it's routine, get into a gym every single day at the same time. The third thing I would say is probably wake up before everyone else in your industry is waking up, so that you have more time in the day to perfect what you want to perfect within that industry.
The Grind Coffee Company, Sihl's Brew and Motherlands, was an idea in somebody's mind. They decided to go beyond just an idea and to be people that we can call upon and sit on this panel, and they can share their journeys, their experiences. And these are our South African barristers that want to make a difference. These are South African barristers that have colorful pasts but very, very prosperous futures, because these are the people that are employing. So imagine if you could employ somebody. Imagine that. On that note, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.